the Philippines were pretty much undefensible. About 1920, the Army had ordered an assessment of the defense of the Philippines. The report came back that the only part of the Philippines that we could defend would be Corregidor Island, and that is in fact the last part of the Philippines we held. Okay, the main island of the Philippines, the battles around Manila, we fought until we really couldn't go anymore. Our men were exhausted, we're out of food. They thought they were going to be reinforced, they were not. Our general finally had to get together with the general in command with the Japanese forces, and he negotiated a surrender, and of course the Japanese had promised to treat our men humanely, cure our wounded, and treat our Philippine allies with dignity, and of course they did none of that. The men were, of course, on a long march to Camp O'Donnell. Many men died on that march. Now, if you want to come in here, so tell you the story. This guy down here, and then one of the items is represented in that case. One of the men who ended up on the death march was an Army lieutenant, an Air Force Lieutenant, William E. Dias. Dias Air Force Base is named for him. He was standing with Philippine Colonel Carlos Romulo, and we were evacuating as many people as we could out of the Philippines. The first to go, of course, were civilians, State Department officials. MacArthur himself was forced to leave. He would have stayed. I mean, he's been criticized by a lot of people, but he was ordered from the very top to leave because we couldn't lose him. Romulo, this was one of the last flights out. Dias had a seat on that. Romulo was with him. Dias told Romulo, "You need to go. You're more important than I am. I'll stay." To Romulo's credit, he argued with Dias. Dias prevailed. Romulo got out. Dias ended up on the march. When he got to Camp O'Donnell, it wasn't very long after that he escaped and brought the story of the death march back to the United States, and we knew about this almost from the beginning of the war. Dias unfortunately would die in a P-38 accident in 1943. He would not survive. Romulo would go on to be instrumental in the government of a free Philippines, and would also serve as President of the General Assembly of the UN. So it was actually a good trade-off.